Hey, assalamu alaikum everyone, welcome to Malik Bhai, and today inshallah we're going to be talking about Prophet Shuaib. Last time I made a mistake. I said that after Prophet Lut, which we have completed in our previous lesson, we said that we are going to talk about who?
Yusuf.
No, Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam, and we still got like a couple prophets that are left. The one that we're going to talk about today is Prophet Shuaib, okay, alayhi salam. Now, he's actually known as the orator. What's an orator? Like a speaker, right? Like he was very eloquent in speaking, okay? And he was a prophet sent to a place called Madyan. Now, some people say that this is the same prophet. So you know we're going to talk about Prophet Musa alayhi salam, and Prophet Musa alayhi salam's story is going to take a long time because he's mentioned more than Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the Quran. There's a lot about him. So many lessons that we can learn from him. So one of the story about Prophet Musa alayhi salam is like when he traveled, when he got kicked out of Egypt, okay, and he was in this place called Madyan. Over there, he ended up marrying one of the daughters of this person who is mentioned in the Quran, and some say that person was Prophet Shuaib alayhi salam. But we don't know, and we also don't know where Prophet Shuaib alayhi salam comes in the chronological order, okay, like where exactly he was, but we know it's after Prophet Lut alayhi salam, okay, but we don't know exactly, but it doesn't matter because dates and names and all that don't really matter to us as long as we get the lesson. So the lesson is okay, so let me ask you something. When we talk about Prophet Hud or Saleh, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that akhahum, their brother, akhah or akhi, right? You know how you say akhi, my brother. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that to the nation of Thamud and so on, their brother Saleh or their brother Hud was sent to them. But when it talks about Prophet Shuaib, in one of the ayahs, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't say their brother. Now, why would Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala do that?
Because Prophet Shuaib wasn't from.
He was. Okay.
Because probably they're doing something bad.
Yes, very good. So in that ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that because they were talking about the people of Aykah. And Aykah is like a false god that they used to worship. So if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had said people of Madyan, he would have said their brother Shuaib. But when he associated them as people of such and such god that they had made up, which was Aykah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't say their brother Shuaib. Okay? That kind of shows us, even if you're from some people, you got to psychologically, disassociate yourself from them. Okay? So all that, if they're being bad, yes.
But like Prophet, who would they are being bad? So but you called him
No. Right. But but everybody was doing bad. Like even Prophet Saleh and Prophet Hud's people, they were also doing bad things. But it's just a little subtle something that you just gotta know about the artistic way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends down his ayat, or that you gotta look for the little details. That in one of the ayahs, he's saying that these are the people of such and such God. He didn't say that, these are people of Aykah, that Shuaib is from them, okay? That he's their brother. But if he had said, people of Madyan, now the city is not bad. So then you can say, okay, their brother so-and-so. But anyways, let's get on. So now we know that people of Shuaib or people of Madyan, they used to worship this god Aykah, okay? And now Madyan was a very important town, okay? It was in between route of Hijaz and Shaam, okay? So these are two, like Hijaz is basically the modern day Saudi Arabia area, okay? And then Shaam is where we talked about, these are like Jordan, Jerusalem, right? These are the towns. So if you look on the map where Madyan is, so when people were traveling from one place to another, they will stop in in Madyan. Kind of like Windsor, right? Windsor is a very special town. You know why? When people are coming from Toronto, right, and they're traveling and they're taking their trucks and everything, and where do they go?
Windsor? Or Toronto?
To Detroit, to America, right? So Detroit and Windsor are like the middle stops. So these are very important towns. So basically they stop here and they go to another town. So that's how Madyan was an important town. So these were very wealthy people, okay? But even though they were wealthy, they cheated. And that was wrong. How did they do that? Okay, so now remember we talked about that every prophet had to deal with a problem. So Lut alayhi salam had to deal with homosexuality. Other prophets had to deal with idol worshipping and so on. So his problem is transactions, business transaction, cheating in dealing with people. So you can't just be praying all the time and fasting and you're doing all these good things, but when it comes to dealing with people, when it comes to money, right, you're cheating people. As long as you get what you want, you get it, but you don't pay the other person for what they did for you. Or you cheat them, or you say, no, you didn't do this and this, I'm not going to pay you full amount. Things like that they used to do, okay? So Prophet, now we already talked about Prophet Saleh and Hud. These people were extravagant people. They used to show off, make all these buildings. Prophet Nuh, we talked about idol worshipping. Prophet Lut, homosexuality. Prophet Musa, which we'll talk about, that he had all types of problems. But one of them was oppression of government on one side. And then he had his own people not listening to him. So Allah wants us to learn these lessons. And that's the whole point of stories of the Prophet, guys, that we want to learn from the lessons of previous generations, previous prophets, so we can apply them in our life. Now, they were the first people to start custom. When I buy something from Detroit and when I come to Windsor and I'm like, I'm going to have to pay duty. So, like when I got the motorcycle, I had to pay almost $1,000 customs, it's called, okay? So when you're bringing something from another country into Canada, let's say, so Canadian government will charge you money. And there's some scholars say that these are the first people who started that. Before there was no such thing. It was free trade. Just come in, you're passing our town, go ahead. Go wherever you want to go. But they're like, no, if somebody wants to go from Hijaz to Shaam, they're going to have to come to our town. If they don't come here, they're going to have to take longer route or they might not even be able to go. So they're going to have to come here. And you know what? They're going to have no choice. We're going to charge them. And that's how we're going to make money. So that's another thing that they started doing, okay?
So they're going to say, give us money because you're at our land.
Basically. Yep. So that's customs. And then it says, so he told his people, oh, my people, give full measure. When you're getting service, pay full for it. That is what is left by Allah. And then whatever is left by Allah is better for you, okay? Now, meaning, if you pay a lot more than what you would have gonna pay, now you have less money left, right? So that's what they used to think. They're like, you know what? If we pay them full amount, then we're not gonna have much left. But you're cheating, right? You gotta pay the person for what they did for you. So now Prophet Shuaib is telling them that whatever is left is better for you. Same thing with sadaqah. When we give money, what happens? Do we have more money or less money?
Less more. Basically less more because
No, it's logically.
Yeah.
You gave money, now you have less money, right? But the money that you make through halal ways and you give, whatever is left behind is better for you. Now, that's the same thing when it comes to interest. Interest is something where you're like, hey, somebody poor comes to you and says, hey, I want to borrow some money from you. You're like, okay, here's $10. When you give me this money back, I'm going to charge you $1 extra. So you have to give me $11 back. That $1 extra that you made is interest. That's also haram. So, and then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is destroying riba. Okay? But He increases sadaqat. He increases the charity. And that's how we got to look at it. Is we think that we just made this $1, but Allah is telling us He's destroying that dollar. And when we give money for the sake of Allah, we think that our money is less, but what does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say? He's actually going to make it more. He's going to multiply, right? There's this factor that us, with calculator, you're not going to find this out. And it's called barakah, blessing. There's a blessing factor of Allah. He's the one who gives. He will make things better for you. Maybe this extra dollar that you made, you might get into an accident and you might end up, it will cost you more, right? So these are the things that we don't think about. So Shuaib's people said, oh, Shuaib, does your prayer tell you that we leave our fathers, what they used to worship, and that we leave our businesses, right? And so that's kind of the arguments that they started making. He's saying, like, does your Allah tell you, or does your Iman, or does your faith, or your Islam, or whatever you're following, is telling us to stop worshiping what our parents used to worship and leave our businesses? This is the way we're used to doing business. That's exactly how we're going to do it. So, what they're saying is, what does your prayer have anything to do with business? And that's exactly what this is called, secularism. What they say is when you have to pray at your mosque, pray at your church, pray at your synagogue or temple, okay? But don't tell us when it comes to business. Business is separate. Prayer and all the stuff that you do with Allah and your gods or whatever is separate. That's how we're going to live. That's how most of the people are living. Now, do you think there's anything wrong with that?
No, but depending if your religion.
I can't hear you, baby. Can you move?
No, but depending, like if your religion actually has something to do with business, if you're following.
Islam is a way of life. Islam is a way of life. And commandments of Allah are not just for your church or your mosque or, at home and doing dhikr and praying. It requires to involve, you have to involve society. Islam teaches you how to do politics, how to do business, transactions, how to pray, okay? And how to stay clean, how to do everything in life. So the law of Allah should be followed, whether it is in politics or business or anything in life. You can't just leave Islam for just certain rituals that you do and everything else we do the way we feel like it. That's something we got to realize. We think that Islam is just 5 times prayer, fasting. It's all about just us, taking care of ourselves, mentally connecting with Allah. But when you're actually dealing with different people, business, politics, all of these things matter. Assalamu alaikum. Okay. So now Shuaib, they're just, they're saying, man, Shuaib, we don't understand what you're saying, whatever you're saying, all this Islam stuff, we don't understand that. Now, do you think Shuaib alayhi salam was having trouble in explaining them about Islam?
No.
Why not?
Because he's a prophet.
And we said something about him that
He's very good at
Speaking.
yeah, he was a very good, orator. He was a very good speaker. He was very eloquent, and he knew how to get his message across. But these people are just mocking him, and they're like, we don't understand what you're saying. Okay, so Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said that any prophet who was sent after Lut was from a strong family, meaning Prophet Shuaib must have been from a strong family as well. So they're basically not killing him because Shuaib came from a rich and a very strong family, somebody with a lot of power. So they're like, the reason why we're not touching you, Shuaib, is because you belong to a noble family. But if it was not for your family, man, we would have kicked you out of this land, or we would have killed you. Don't tell us about Islam and all this stuff that you're saying, prayer and all that. Let us do what we are doing. So Shuaib alayhi salam said, is my family more important to you than Allah? Right? He's like, this is how we should be changing our mindset. Worry about what Allah thinks of you, not what my family thinks or which family I'm from or whatever your family thinks. Worry about what Allah wants, right? You should fear Allah. You have put Him behind your backs and you're ignoring Him. So he gave few advice to his people. All right, you ready for this? He said, قال يا قوم أرأيتم إن كنت على بينة من ربي ورزقني منه رزقا حسنا وما أريد أن أخالفكم إلى ما أنهاكم عنه إن أريد إلا الإصلاح ما استطعت وما توفيقي إلا بالله عليه توكلت وإليه أنيب. So he said, O my people, have you considered, if I am upon clear evidence from my Lord and He has provided me with a good provision from Him, and I do not intend to differ from you in that which I have forbidden you. I only intend reform as much as I'm able, and my success is not but through Allah. Upon Him I have relied, and to Him I will return. So one thing he's saying that, you know what? I don't intend to differ from whatever I'm teaching you. Meaning, like, if I'm telling you to do something, I'm going to do it myself. So you can't be teaching people to do something and do something else. So he's like, I'm not going to end up doing something different than what I'm teaching you, okay? So whatever I tell you not to do, I'm also not going to do it as well. And I'm only going to, and I'm going to be doing whatever I'm able to do. So one thing is that we should always strive our best to do the best to our ability. Some people will do more than us. In some cases, we might end up fasting more than other people. Other people might end up praying more than us, okay? But do the best you can, okay? The best to your ability. And my success is not but through Allah. So he's teaching the concept of tawakkul in Allah, putting trust in Allah. So that's the concept that he's teaching to his people. So then he's saying, and O my people, let not your dissension from me cause you to be struck by the similar to what struck the people of Nuh or the people of Hud or people of Saleh. He's giving examples. He said, just because you don't like me because of what I'm saying, don't do the similar thing that people of Hud and Saleh and Nuh, and we have already covered the stories of these prophets, whatever they used to do, okay? And by the way, the people of Lut are not far away from you. What does that mean? They're not far away from you.
You're not the people of that you're close to the fate of the people of.
So what that means is that Prophet Lut alayhi salam's town in distance is maybe not too far away from you. And you already heard about the punishment. The news must have came to the people of Shuaib in Madyan that town of Lut. What was that town called, by the way?
What is it called?
Starts with S.
Sodom,
right? So that town was destroyed, so they might have already heard about it, right? Or maybe it was a generation before Prophet Shuaib, so they might have already heard the news of this, okay? So he's giving them examples of previous, yes, that if you don't listen to me, I'm the prophet, the same thing is going to happen what happened to the people of Nuh and Saleh and Hud and Lut and so on, right? So, and then he's telling them, and ask forgiveness of your Lord, and then repent to him, right? Do tawbah. And he's very merciful and affectionate, okay? Inna Rabbi Rahimu Wadud. So make sure you ask for forgiveness. These are the same messages that other prophets had brought as well. Now, what happened? Earthquake seized them, okay? So clouds came over their heads and wind stopped. Okay, so now they're like suffocating. There's no circulation, no breeze.
Like prophet, what?
Which prophet are we learning about?
Shuaib.
Yeah. So now, yes. So
Oh.
Prophet Shuaib's people, now this is their punishment, okay? Clouds came over their head, and now there's no circulation. The wind just stopped. So they're just like having trouble in breathing. Humidity is building up, okay? And then all of a sudden, earthquake came, and it destroyed them. And they became as if they had never lived there. Like they were just totally gone. All right. And this was the financial center, right? One of the. So so anytime when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is about to send a punishment, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells his people, his prophets, how to protect themselves. In the case of Prophet Nuh, what did he say?
I'm going to send water and make a flood, and then you build a ship. So
Yep.
you can just sail.
And then what did he say to Prophet Lut?
To get out of the town.
Get out of the town. So in this case, and in this case, I'm sure they had said something, but he was saved, okay? Now Prophet Shuaib returned back to them and spoke to these dead bodies, and he's like, I've fulfilled my mission, and Allah has fulfilled promise over me and you, then how can I feel sorrow for you? I don't even feel bad for you guys, right? I did my job. Now the whole town is destroyed because of what people used to do. So many lessons from the story of Prophet Shuaib, right? One, we know that a lot of all the prophets who came after Prophet Lut came from strong families. Second, so they have people who will listen to them, but even then people might not listen to them. The other is that Islam is not just some rituals that we do at home. It is your whole life. You can't just take the law of Allah and only apply it to your Islamic school studies and fasting and prayers. It has to be applied. What kind of job should you be getting? Right? Is it from halal income or not? What kind of clothing you should be wearing, right? What should you be eating? Everything is related to Islam. Second, he's teaching them that if I'm going to tell you to do something, I'm going to do it myself as well. And try your best to do whatever whatever you can according to your ability. and put your tawakkul, put your trust in Allah. Ask Allah for forgiveness, return back to Him. He will forgive you. He's very merciful. But again, if that doesn't happen, we know the punishment that all these nations got, and that could happen to us as well because of our doings. So let's ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect us from His punishment and His anger, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be happy from all of our efforts that we're doing, anything that we're doing, learning about Him, about His prophets, about the lessons from the Quran, from the stories, and help us apply these lessons in our life. This is Malik Bhai. We'll see you next time in another day, another stories. Assalamu alaikum.